Alright, we're back. Gonna watch Thailand versus the Philippines. I believe this is the match. Oh wait, this is already way beyond, I think. Yeah, I think this is the first match for this one? Maybe? I'm not sure. We shall find out. I know, it's still Hong Kong versus Singapore. This is already a match for the Philippines versus Thailand. Alright, let's see what we have here. Uh, excuse me. Advance it a little bit, still assembling. So, Thailand is gonna run with what is basically goats. Got, well, I believe Mickey's gonna be a Zarya because there's no way that you. Well, you can use Sigma with Rhine. It's just it's not as efficient. I mean, your Rhine is going to be very sad. I mean, against this composition, Reinhardt's going to be sad because the moment that, say, there's no rock, there's no ice wall, he just gets bullied by the DPSs and the tanks of the Philippines. So okay, there is a Zarya instead of Sigma. This is basically goats. Your plan is to, but it's slightly varied, but then again, it's kind of still like goats. The goal is to be aggressive, like W into the enemy team using the Mei wall to cut off a few of the members of the enemy team. So after that, you get a pick off, you use your cooldowns very efficiently, blah blah blah. It's basically goats. If you're the Philippines, now here's the question that I have. Why is Arisa, or basically this team, I mean Thailand is already here on white. How is it that they're still not on white? How is this Orisa Sigma with a Lucio, mind you, still not set up here? Question marks. So anyway, they failed to set up on white, but that's fine. What you can do is have your Doomfist. Your Doomfist goes for a flank over here. Goes for a punch. Because at this point, you know that they've already, well, they haven't used their Mei wall, but they're about to. So might as well have a trade-off, if ever. That's a really bad wall, so that means that your Doomfist can maybe just go for a flank and get a pick off like that. Your Reaper can just hold W on the forward. So instead of going for a flank with the Doomfist, they go for a flank with the Reaper, which is, I guess, okay. Alright, wait, that's a really scuffed combination, by the way. So the punch goes in first before anything else. Like, punch, yep, there's a punch. Which is, I mean, in this scenario it works because they're kind of clumped up, you don't really have to use your halt, but you typically want to use halt in combination with this, because the halt also removes their momentum, so that means that they can't really move to the left or retreat from this easier. So, yeah. They pick off Ryan, and that's why no one really uses Ryan anymore, because it's really bad, but the follow-up to it was really worse than their engagement. It's much worse than their engagement, I should say. So, alright. So they're low. I don't mind this Reaper, by the way, TPing all the way back, because again, they don't have, there's no rock. There's no rock to stun. The Mei wall was just used. This is already used. There's no rock. So the only thing that can punish you is... What can punish you, actually? A charge. Charge is the only thing that can punish you. Charge, charge, and maybe a freeze, but the freeze is really, really slow. So, and in this situation, the focus of Thailand is towards the tanks of the Philippines. So that means that TPing behind them, right over there, like just imagine behind this enemy team. TPing behind the enemy team is actually going to get value because their focus is not on this Reaper. Like, yeah, the TP behind is should have been used, and I think the Philippines would have been able to clean up this fight. So anyway, we shall advance. So of course Thailand is going to hold close. I don't agree with the shield. There's no point in you using the shield. The reason being that you're not going to engage just yet, and if they are going to spam, which by the way they're not very good at, like this composition that they have is not very good at spamming. They can't spam you from spawn. Well, maybe the Mei can and the Lucio can, but it's not very effective. They much more prefer to isolate somebody and then freeze them and then kill them than, you know, spam shield. But since they're graciously giving the shield, then, you know, why not? So what? How do you engage this? How do you play this if you're stuck in this situation? Well, for one, you can make a very quick rotation to the right and then just head straight to point before they can properly rotate to you. That's one. Another one is to brute force it by forcing out the wall over here. You can do that by say, well, you can have your Orisa just move forward, W forward over here, and then the moment that she gets walled off, so there's going to be a wall, you break it, you break the middle, and then you have your Orisa go through that middle breakage. After that, you can re-engage. You're gonna be fine. So Thailand just basically takes advantage of the fact that they don't have any shields anymore. That's why they W forward. Reaper's low. All of them are damaged. Well, Reaper is falling back rather, not really low, but he's falling back, so that means that there's no aggression. Plus there's no shields, so that means that they can just W forward. They gotta pick off, so that means that they can W forward even more for the next 15 seconds. And yeah, okay. That's a well, I guess that the attempt of that halt was to pull back some of the people to this spot so that you can kill them off, but didn't really work. This coalescence is really questionable. This is a question mark because this is a choke that they already control. They already backed off, by the way. So that means that they can just go all the way left, or well, left from the perspective of this spawn right here. And they're gonna be fine. And then after that, they already have their wall, so they can just wall off this if ever the Philippines decides to engage. So that's a pretty bad coalescence, and there's the wall. I don't know why they're committing this, what do you call that? Flux, but it's there. It's just a really horrible sequence of events. So you blew out your coalescence and your flux. You still have your Doomfist ult, maybe your result and your Reaper ult as well. So you're still fine. You just need to play this a little bit slower, or at the very least, well, I guess against this composition, you kinda want to play it faster and out-rotate them. In this situation, you play slow just to get their ultimates out. So that's one ultimate out. Okay, so the Philippines go for engage, eats the Blizzard. And then an engagement by XNS to the back line. He doesn't really get anyone with it because again there's no halt, there's no combo, there's no halt plus slam or strike. Another thing is that the rest of the Philippines is backing off. Like they don't want part of any of this. And that means that their Doomfist is kinda alone. That means he's gonna die. A very horrible death. It's only now that the Philippines goes forward. Up. Stuff is happening on stream. There's a lot of T-Tours and Kale. Push is a bit of a fail. Well, it's a partial success. They get a pick off on both tanks. So in this situation, you don't have. Well, you still have your Orisa. Actually, you just need to play it again. You need to play it slow. So play slow, and set up. You don't need to W onto the point because you still have 82%. Well, I mean, you still have 82%, you still have 18 seconds to touch the point, which is plenty of time, since they don't have any tanks right now on the side of Thailand. Like, there's no Mickey, most importantly, there's no Tita Watt, who is the Rhine, their main tank. So, any spam that the Philippines just throws at Thailand is just going to be value. It's eventually going to force them all the way out. They just need to set up on the point. They don't need to W immediately. They need to wait for their tanks to set up, and that is not waiting for your tanks to set up. That is the complete opposite. Now they don't have a Sigma. They should still lose this because they just used their beat for nothing. Yep, there's nothing to counter that Death Blossom. It's just the only thing that they will probably use their beat for, apart from maybe Reinhardt ult and okay, maybe the Graviton Surge. Speaking of which, actually, I'm curious now. How many times did they use Graviton Surge? Because this Zarya has been up for a very long time. They did. Okay, they did. They did at least once. I was like, did they never use Graviton Surge? That's so weird. So anyway. Moving on. Oops, that's a little bit too forward. That's still forward. God damn it. Wait, let's summarize this first. This last one first, I guess, before we move on to the next map of Lijiang. Let's advance it a little bit. So what would you do if you're the Philippines? How would you improve? You need to understand your win conditions for one. Another, your win conditions, especially on this composition, is comboing with Halt. Halt is an all-important, what do you call this? All-important ability, because it combos into so many things. You have Halt into Punch, which is the most basic. You have Halt into Rock, which is really effective if you're up against a mirror, or if, God forbid, they play Dive, or a Pharah Mercy. You use the Halt, and then you time the Halt with the Rock, and stun the Pharah, and maybe get a pick off on both the Pharah and the Mercy. So there's one. You also have your Halt into a variety of ults, such as Strike, Flux. You've got Death Blossom as well. You've got Bongo plus Coalescence. There are a lot of things, but I don't think the Philippines was using Halt that much in unison with the rest of their abilities. Secondly, is just using your abilities effectively. Like, your abilities have to be... They have to gain value. Like, Philippines has not used any of their abilities to get pickoffs cleanly. If they do get pickoffs, it's a trade basically, and that should never be a thing. Trades are really bad. Should never want to trade with the enemy team. You should always aim to be up in kills whenever possible. Yeah, that's basically my input so far as to what they can improve in the short term, long term mechanics, and perhaps alt discipline, game sense. So Thailand, it's another mirror. Well, it's not really a mirror match before, right? But it is now. They're going for an Orisa Sigma. What do you call this? Symmetra Doomfist. So the idea here is to teleport onto the point immediately and set up. Hopefully faster than the enemy team, which Thailand is able to do. Don't understand how they're late for this. Okay. So, well, okay. What do you do? What do you do in this situation? Like you're not able to set up immediately on the point. How do you counter that then in this situation? Uh well, one way is to one way is just to directly TP onto the point. Yeah, just directly TP onto the point. If you directly TP onto the point, does that necessarily negate every bad thing that's happening to the Philippines right now? uh, I mean, probably not. So what do you do instead? I mean, the punch just destroys. I guess that's just an L, just a fat L after that one. Yeah, they just need to set up faster. If they can't do that, they need another composition for this one. At this point, it's very difficult to retake against a Symmetra composition, especially if they have the point in this map. Because they have the turrets, they kind of know where you're coming from, because there's only one logical place. You don't really want to engage from here as a team, because there's a Lucio that's gonna boop you. And yeah. So instead of this composition, if you want to retake, I suggest a Pharah Mercy. Pharah Mercy, and then your team tries to. You can keep the. Well, what's your other DPS? Your other DPS probably switches to Doomfist. Oops, not Boomfist. Doom. And the idea is to flank all the way around point. So the Doomfist goes all the way around and tries to engage from here. Oh wait, no. Actually, you have to be frontline. But then in that case, yeah, you still need Doomfist. Actually, Doomfist is still value. So what you need to do is you need to have your Pharah flank and start spamming from behind the enemy team. So Pharah flanks, Pharah, Mercy, flanks, I cannot spell, and spams. Rest of the team holds forward, tries to W forward. Although there's a lot of shield break on the side of Thailand. So what you can do is, as Pharah Mercy, you need to prioritize the sim. Because the sim is going to be the number one threat to the shields. The moment that the shield break of Thailand is neutralized, you can walk in. but this is the highest priority target. The Doomfist is also a problem, but you have Sigma anyway, so your Sigma needs to be able to watch out for the Doom and have a rock ready to kill that Doom, or at least stun him out. But as it is, this is very difficult for the Philippines to retake. Another, well, if they must retake with this, what they can do is, okay, from here, well, this Doomfist is not supposed to be here. He needs to flank. Just like when, if they're going to play Pharah. But their tank their tank line can remain like this. They need to force Thailand to focus on this front line so that when your Doomfist engages, he engages freely. No pressure from the rest of the team, the enemy team, and maybe he can get a pick off. Likely on this, hopefully on this Symmetra. Uh, if he can kill maybe the Sigma or the Moira, that's fine too, but that's a bit difficult because this has Fade, this has Rock. The Rock is likely not gonna be used. If you're up against a really smart Sigma, the Rock is always going to be reserved for a Doomfist. Nothing else. But yeah. So yeah, you play for shield break yourself. Your Doom tries to go for a pick off, like what they what Thailand did here. Their Doom came in from behind, and the moment that Philippines was fixated on the front line, he goes in. And when the Doomfist goes in, the rest of Thailand goes in, because by that time the shields of the Philippines are non-existent, and therefore they can W forward without any fear, with an ultra charged Void Ray, the form of Symmetra. Okay. Little bit of a thing. Not worth putting the turrets here. Might as well set up the turrets over there behind the enemy team. Why? It forces their attention for a little bit behind them instead of front. So that means that you can maybe place your shield a little bit more forward and get more shield damage. That means that your odds of winning the shield war is a lot higher. They really need to have a Sigma on this Doomfist. Another option for the turret placement is to put them where the Doomfist might come from, i.e. behind them. But yeah, this is really rough. This is really rough to retake with the composition that they're trying to use. So if they must win, they need to use Coalescence. There we go. The shield, the wall is a little bit extra. I don't think you need it yet, but there's just so many ults on the side of Thailand that they just get blown up. Easy clap. La 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 la. Let's go on to the next map. Thankfully, it's also short. Come on, stop buffering and let me get to Hanamura. Alright, we're at Hanamura. Let's see. The Philippines is going with a Bastion composition that has a Hanzo, which is very strange to me. Typically, you have a Symmetra or a Pharah with this, but they have a Hanzo instead. And the way you can maybe play this is have the Hanzo off angle. So that means that your Hanzo will position over here. So it sets up a crossfire. So your Bastion is likely going to be firing over there, your Hanzo is going to be firing over here, And yeah, that's gonna be really rough to effectively dislodge. And if even if the enemy team just goes on to the Hanzo, just dives him because he's just alone, it's fine. You have a Mercy to res him. So the Mercy flies to the corpse, reses that. You rotate. The rest of the team rotates onto the point. Well, beside the point, the high ground. You know what it is from the Mega, and start spamming some fools on the point. That's basically how you should play this. A more efficient composition would likely be Pharah, because the Pharah automatically has an off angle. It's very difficult to get rid of, especially with the composition that the Philippines has. Still very vulnerable to snipers though, so they need to watch out for that. Amazing that Oputo managed to get away with that, but he did. So the way the Philippines is playing this is that the Hanzo is holding relatively close to where the rest of his team is, and that's pretty bad because if with the composition of Thailand, all they have to do is jump onto the exact same spot and they kill everyone. The Mercy, the Bastion, the Hanzo, everyone. And there's literally no one that this Mercy can fly to be safe. That's why I don't like this positioning, per se. Also, another thing, speaking of positioning, this is really out in the open. So unless they can't really use, what do you call this? Immortality field. Immortality field here is pretty bad because any good team will just be able to shoot it unless they have all of their shields, which again I don't think any self-respecting team would allow them to just do that. Plus, it's a really bad usage of immortality field, right? You have both of your shields and then you're using immortality. Like, come on, bruh. Come on, bruh. So, the way Thailand will win this, or should play this, rather, is to have a Sombra contest the point. Sombra goes point, or pressures point. Force a rotation from the rest of the Philippines. Ideally, you will have a ball with you, a Sombra, because it will force at least one person to rotate onto the point, and a Sombra you can hack that person, and then the ball helps you finish them off. Now, if the entirety of the team from the Philippines rotates towards the point, then your option is to catch them on that rotation. And it's going to be a very easy catch because again, they're playing as a like a large unit, a large blob instead of having two angles to spam this from two different angles. So, like a simple jump while the Philippines is rotating to the point is just going to spell doom. Alright, I don't agree with this, because right now they either have to commit every single person onto the point, but in this situation, since Mickey on ball is not yet with the Sombra, that means that your Sigma should be able to contest the point by himself. Like this, the only person that needs to rotate to the point is the Sigma. That's it. No one else needs to go there, because there's no other support for that Sombra. The Sigma should be able to force out that Sombra from the point. And then the rest of the Philippines should just focus on holding the choke and spamming people or preventing people from rotating or getting into the point. But they rotate. This is really bad for the Bastion, even with this Immortality field. Because again, this Immortality field is going to be out in the open. So both tanks just rotate to the point. This poor Bastion is just alone here. He should have actually rotated with a team. There's no reason for him to stay here. He's really vulnerable. I mean, yes, you have your immortality field, but your immortality field is, I just call it lamp because everyone calls it lamp. So the lamp is just right there. It's out in the open. So even a Lucio can take that out. No problem. Just play safe. There we go. Easy. Then the Bastion needs to be supported by the Mercy. I have no idea why the Mercy is in that brawl on the point. Your not your Sigma. This Baptiste should be enough, especially with Immortality Field, which she just used. So, a lot of things played the wrong way, but eh. I guess as Dax on Twitch just said or repeatedly said, we go again, and they have no choice but to do that again if they're gonna get much better again and again and again, especially in scrims. Because there's no way in hell that they're gonna win if they're going to do this over and over and over again, exact same way. Thailand is sticking with this because they have multiple ultimates. They can combo the EMP into what do you call this? Pulse Bomb. I forgot the name. There we go. The EMP. Unfortunately, it did not catch the what do you call this? The Immortality Field. But the problem there was, yeah, they didn't catch the Baptiste in the EMP. So there's an Immortality Field. But the problem is that the Immortality Field was thrown too far. And moreover, the rest of the Philippines did not want to be inside the Immortality Field. So, I guess that's some trust issues slash just game sense. Just game sense. I mean, the ultimate disrespect is when you primal too early. I suppose. Well, it's not really disrespect, but they kind of know that they're gonna win this. I mean, the mere fact that you can play this composition against a Bastion and against a Sigma, actually the most significant thing there is there's a Sigma, means that you're really, really outskilling, outplaying the enemy team. So, anyway, moving on to attack. Maybe the Philippines can get the point. Actually, they won't. I watched this entire thing. Spoiler alert. And they're gonna run the exact same thing, I think. It was a Symmetra Bastion. Oh, it's not the exact same thing, but you know what I mean. The principle is almost the same. Gonna advance it a little bit. Don't like waiting. Alright. Alright, so the Philippines chooses to rotate over here to the right instead of over here. The advantage of this rotation is the fact that they won't be able to scout you, or usually they won't. Unfortunately, Oputo is on Sombra, so he knows everything. The disadvantage of rotating here is that your options for teleportations or teleporters is somewhat limited. Because you either go onto the high ground where the Mega is, or you go to the far left from the perspective of the Philippine spawn, which is also still vulnerable to flankers, which is what Thailand is using. So they catch them on rotation, just very smart. They hold close because they kind of know. They kind of know that the Philippines is doing this, and the key to winning with the Philippine composition is to get it on the point and force them to contest the point with the rest of your team already set up there. If they can prevent that from happening, or prevent them at the very least from creating a bunker of any sort anywhere important, then Thailand just automatically wins. And that is precisely what's gonna happen. So if you're the Philippines, what should you do? You switch. You should just switch because I mean they got you with a really good rotation the first time. This thing will not work on the second try. Most certainly not. Also, this is already a lost fight. They should be they should just be like suiciding at this point. They're just staggering their deaths. Oh no, they need that shield on that Bastion. Okay. Little monk ass. So if you must, if the as the Philippines play as this composition, what should you do? Well, first of all, you already know what the composition is for the enemy team, so you need to force out the flankers. Force out flankers. Like you need to prevent them from getting any value from these kinds of flanks, like what Uputo is doing right now, because they will immediately punish you with it. They can immediately punish you with it. So you need to force them out. By forcing them out, there's no setup for their dive. Like the only people that are able to dive are the Ball and the Winston, and since you have Immortality Field, you have Rock. Those are very easy picks. So you need to force out the flankers first, and then slowly make your way towards the point. Slowly take space. Then once you get to the point, just bunker up. Again, same MO. Force out the flankers. Survive any dive that might be forced upon you. And that's gonna be the first point if you ever do that. If they ever allow you to do that. But realistically, I'd rather have them switch. Like, this is a really rough position to be in. Because the enemy team just knows what you're going to do. There's literally just one game plan for the Philippines right now, and like Thailand has 10 editions of that book that the Philippines are trying to what do you call this? Use against Thailand. So once again, well, they changed compositions. In fairness, this is fine. This is expected because oh, I lost a key cap. Damn it. Anyway, I'm pausing this. I'm gonna find a keycap. There we go. Found it. Got it. Alright, that's on. So, this is expected. They have a plethora of ultimates on the side of Thailand, so of course they're going to get rolled. Since they switched to this composition of Reaper Doomfist, they need to again play it slow, force out the dive, survive the dive, and then force out the flankers, at least out of this side of their map. And then yeah, just start rotating to the point, and carefully rotating to the point. There we go. There's a pickoff on the flanker right there. It's really good. They need to finish off this Winston. The Winston gets the bongo. I don't know what they were focusing. Nice. I mean, they should be taking high ground actually. They should be rotating high ground because that's the only other place that Thailand can flank from, right? They're not gonna be jumping in from the front unless you're Winston with the Primal Rage. But yeah, most of the setups that Thailand are going to be doing is from the high ground. So they need to clear the high ground first and then rotate the point. Make it really awkward for the enemy team to jump on them. And the target focus is really bad. I have no idea. I have no idea how this monkey's alive. There was a rock. There was also a bongo. But somehow, someway, this monkey is still alive. So that says target focus is, or target priority is not there for the Philippines. Somehow their Sigma gets to the point. I have no idea how or why. It's a man with no speed, uses only toes. He doesn't even have Jordans or Nikes on his feet, but somehow, someway, he makes it to the point. Without a Lucio, mind you, gets annihilated. This is an over push for the Philippines. They should just reset. I guess that's what they're doing. Not sure if that was the plan, but hey, it did the job. And it really confused Thailand as well because there was just a random Sigma there. Just a random ass Sigma just over there. Yeah, they're not clearing out the top. So I guess I put in the closing thoughts here. So the Philippines needs to work on their halt combos, the very basic of it, and they also need to improve their game sense. Like they need to have that sense of what is the win condition, what is their win condition, the win condition of the enemy team. God damn it, I cannot write with a mouse. I can write with my pad and pen. So win condition of enemy team, your team, your team, enemy team. So they have to be able to understand what the win condition of their opponent and also their win condition. Like for example, if they're using dive and you're using um what do you call this, Doom Reaper, that means that they have this one dive to make things work. If they get punished on that dive, if they lose people on that dive and you incur minimal losses, then that means that their dive just failed and that you just win. So yeah, they need to understand win conditions. So that means game sense. Game sense lacking, needs to be improved. Game sense. They need to work on combos. So coordinating their halts with a variety of abilities and ultimates is another thing that they definitely need to work on. And then you also have rotations, because the rotations are really rotations and positioning. Rotations, positioning. Because they kind of know, the Philippines kind of know the compositions that are meta-ish, except for that Hanzo. That Hanzo was really, really weird. But yeah, rotations and positioning. Because their rotation for that Bastion composition was really bad. Their positioning for that Hanzo that was supposed to off angle but didn't off angle was also really bad. So they need to understand not just their composition but better positions so that they can get more value from it, and rotations, especially when the enemy team is starting to rotate and trying to pick apart your own composition by having a better setup than you. So yeah, I think I'm gonna end it there. My throat is starting to hurt, and I think I've already done enough of my pro bono. So yeah, I'm gonna end the stream here. Thank you for watching, guys. I will see you next time.